God bless you, everybody. I'm not going to be before you long. I just want to give this word of encouragement. So God has said to me, out of the bush, out of the thicket, out of the bush, out of the thicket, out of the bush. And I'm like, okay, what's the rest of it? So a lot of times when God speaks to me or gives me a dream, I always go back to where have I seen this in the Bible? And the only thing I could think of was the where Abraham was on his way to go sacrifice Isaac. He puts Isaac on the altar. He ties him up. Before he does that, Isaac is like, "Well, where's the sacrifice at?" And Abraham was like, "God will provide." And so Isaac gets on the altar, and his dad binds him up. And just before the knife is about to go down onto Isaac, the angel says, "Don't, stop, don't do this." And out of the bush is a ram. And so when Abraham turns around, there's a sacrifice. And so basically what God is saying here is that there are some of you who have lived your life as a sacrifice unto God. It's like you put your life on the altar, because Isaac, at the age that he was, around 13, he could have got up, or at least struggled, with his dad, try to run away from him, something. But Isaac was compliant. He was willing to sacrifice his life unto God. And God is saying there are some of you out there that have laid your life on the line. There are things that, came your way where it could have been the easy way out, that you could have actually found your way out of a situation. But God said, for whatever reason, told you no. And you sacrificed your life unto God. You have sacrificed your life unto God. Now, granted, some of the things that God had told you no is because he had better for you. He had better for you. And so you've lived your life sacrificed unto God. But along with the sacrifice came obedience, because both Abraham and Isaac were obedient unto God. God said, "Go ahead, sacrifice your son." And Abraham was like, "All right, let's go." He didn't hesitate. And so it has been with some of you, where God has told you to do things. God has said, leave your job when you didn't have another job, as far as you knew, didn't have another job lined up. And God just said, leave. And you did it without hesitation. You knew it hurt your flesh at the time. There's been times where opportunities would have came to pass, where you could have maybe gotten to another relationship, and God said, no, that person is not for you, or whatever. And you thinking like the person seemed perfect, it seemed like it would be a perfect match. But God said no. And you don't have nobody else on the horizon. And you just like, you know what I mean? Like, that could have been my wife or my husband right there. But God said no. And you did what God told you to do. You were obedient. And whenever a situation will come up, you'd always go to God and say, "God, is this for me? God, is this, what should I do? This, that, and the other thing." You always sought the Lord for everything. And God is saying that he sees that. He sees your faith. He sees your obedience. He sees your sacrifice. And if you continue reading that chapter in Genesis 22, you're going to see that Abraham calls God Jehovah Jireh, because God provided. And so you're going to see that God is going to provide because of your obedience. God is going to provide for you. exponentially more than what you've seen, because he's already been, I know for most of us, we already know him as provider. But you're gonna see more. And number two, what you're gonna see is, if you read Genesis 22, you're gonna see that there was a whole host of blessings that came out of the fact that Abraham was willing to sacrifice his son. And so you're going to notice that you're going to have all these blessings coming out of the fact that you have been so obedient, and you suffered and you sacrificed. It wasn't easy. And God sees that. And you had no way of knowing of no way of knowing, or no sight. Let me put it that way. It was like, you know, that's what they say. Faith is like darkness. To have faith is like, so you don't see it. And so you had no way of knowing, and you still don't have no way of knowing how these things are going to work out in your life. But all you know is what God told you and what God has promised you. And God is just so enamored by the fact that you, even though you don't see, you continue to believe in God. You continue to be faithful. You continue to love God, even with all the things that have happened. You continue to believe him. And God is just so enamored with that, and so in love with that. The fact that you have conducted yourself this way, that you have no idea how much he is pleased with you. And he's about to pour it out. He is about to pour it out. All those things that you have been believing for, he is about to pour it out upon you. I don't know what it is. I don't know what you've been believing God for. Healing, marriage, finances, just the salvation of your loved ones. It's about to go down. And I just hope you guys are encouraged. I hope this touched somebody. I hope somebody felt the Spirit of God, because sometimes, when you walk in this thing out, you don't really know. See, because the funny thing about it is that sometimes you're not going to necessarily hear God saying, well done, well done, well done. After every little sacrifice that you do, you're not going to necessarily hear that. And the reason for that is because if God was to say that 24/7 to you, then there would be no need for faith. You see what I'm saying? Like, you wouldn't be able to exercise your faith. Sometimes you just be like, well, God, show me how you going to do it, when you going to do it. If he showed you every single little detail, then you wouldn't be able to exercise your faith. And so, but there are times where God will say, well done. I'm so pleased with you that you did. You know what I mean? There are times where God will just squeeze you, and you will feel, you know what I mean, that just um just the love of God, just the acceptance of your sacrifice, because there's times when people in the Bible would sacrifice stuff, and God he didn't accept their sacrifice. He didn't accept it because it wasn't given with the right, attitude, or with the right heart. And so, but God is saying that he has seen your sacrifice, and he accepts it, and he has burnt the sacrifice up. And but what I was trying to say is that you don't always hear God saying well done, well done, because you have to be if he did that, you wouldn't have the ability or the opportunity to exercise your faith. And so I'm hoping that for those that this applies to, you'll be able to feel the Spirit of God through this video as you're confirmation that he has accepted the sacrifice, that he is well pleased with you, that he is saying, well done. So, and it's encouragement. It is encouragement, you know what I mean, to continue on the race and continue to be obedient and to continue to sacrifice your life unto the Lord. And so yeah, so I just hope this has been a blessing to those who it applies to. And so I just God bless you, and until we meet again, my friends.